Good afternoon, class. Continuation of our topic in macroeconomics. Last time we talked about inflation and GDP. Under this module, we will be discussing unemployment and unemployment rate, how to compute unemployment rate, and consumer price index. Most of us are familiar with unemployment and inflation. The unemployment rate reflects the number of people out of work and who are actively seeking work. Inflation indicates an overall rise in the price level of most, but not all, goods and services. In this unit, we will delve into these concepts and study their relationship. First, consider that inflation erodes the purchasing power of the dollar or other currency units. Examples: euro, rupee, or any other currencies. Macroeconomics help us measure the effects of inflation onto the economy and the standard of living when it distinguishes between nominal income, the dollar amount received, and the real income, the amount of goods and services of the income can buy. Secondly, consider the different type of employment. The labor force includes employed and unemployed workers, such as those who are able and willing to work, but not able to obtain employment. The labor force does not include full-time students, non-working spouses, and retirees who are not looking or unable to work. We examine three types of employment: frictional or temporary unemployment, structural unemployment, which affects entire sectors of the economy, and cyclical unemployment, which is caused by downturns in the economy. So these three, we will try to define the three types of employment as we go on with the chapter. So the objectives are: at the end of the topic, the student expected to learn the following: calculating the unemployment rate, frictional and structural unemployment, inflation, calculating the inflation with index numbers, and consumer price index. Okay, let's see. So who counts in unemployment? First, we have the discouraged workers. So ano itong mga to? Those who have stopped looking for employment due to the lack of suitable positions available. So ito yung those persons or those people who already stopped looking for employment, maybe because they are discouraged na with the system or with the economic state of the country. Yung iba masyado na matagal na naghahanap ng trabaho. It came to a point na ayaw nila maghanap kasi nga since wala, parang na-discourage sila na they can find job, but eventually in the long run nahirapan, so it came to a point na ayaw na nila maghanap. Another one is out of the labor force, those who are not working and not looking for work, whether they want employment or not, also termed not in the labor force. So ito naman yung mga hindi naghahanap, mga walang trabaho, not because wala silang makitang trabaho, but because ayaw nila maghanap ng trabaho. Okay, itong isa, naghahanap ng trabaho, but unfortunately, walang makita for such a long time. Ito namang isa, out of the labor force, walang trabaho kasi kagustuhan nilang hindi magtrabaho. It's their choice. Okay, and the last one is underemployed. Individuals who are employed in a job but is below their skills. So ito naman yung so pumapasok din siya sa unemployment, no? Yung mga workers na above or below their skills, or below the skills, they are considered as underemployed. You are too qualified for the job and yet you are working on that job. So papasok ka sa bilang ng unemployed persons. So, who's in or out of labor force? So, meron tayong employed, currently working for pay, unemployed, out of work and actively looking for a job, out of the labor force, out of paid workforce and are not actively looking for a job, and labor force, the number of employed plus the unemployed. Okay? So, here we have a graph, ano? So, tingnan mo natin sa Philippines kasi ito ay sa USA na graph. But here, let's check what is going on sa ating bansa. Here, Unemployment rate eases in July from April to 2020. As we all know, right now the Philippines is under a economic downturn or economic downfall. Medyo nakakabawi na tayo ngayon, but during the past months, okay, medyo humina or hindi medyo, instead talagang humina yung ating economy because of the lockdown and the effect of the COVID-19. So, malaki ang epekto ng pagsasara or malaki ang epekto ng COVID-19 sa pagsasara ng napakadaming companies. Okay? So, sabi dito, no? As reported by the Philippine or PSA, the July round of the labor force survey recorded a 7.5 million increase in employment compared to April, with all subsectors experiencing employment gains except for arts, entertainment, and recreation. All 17% or all 17 regions showed employment improvements from the previous quarter. So medyo nag-improve pa kasi syempre, ang kasagaran kasi ng lockdown is from March to June. Okay, during that time, during the 3-month time, March, April, May, June, or almost 4 months, no? Talagang madami nagsarang establishments, companies. So yun yung kasagaran ng ating unemployment rate during that time, no? Pero syempre, pasok ng June or mid-month of June hanggang July, no? Medyo nilawagan na yung ating ekonomiya, niliwanagan na yung lockdown, yung quarantine na sinasabi, okay? So medyo nakabawi na siya during the month of July until now. Notably, employment in agriculture and forestry increased by 2.1 million from April, with higher agricultural output within the industry. Okay, the July survey figures show a direct link between the level of quarantine restrictions and labor market. In the first half of May 2020, more than 3/4 of the economy was placed under ECQ. As a result, GDP and unemployment worsened to record levels. Okay, first half of May. In contrast, in the first half of July naman, pagdating ng July, only 2.1% of the economy was placed under ECQ. So, konti na lang. The result is significant reduction in the unemployment rate and the return of some 7.5 million jobs. Okay? So, ayan. I won't not go much further on this, no? So, ito yung case natin sa Philippines, no? Medyo nakakabawi na tayo when it comes to employment rate. Pero nung kasagaran ng COVID-19 or kasagaran ng quarantine, talagang bagsak na bagsak ang ating economy. Okay. So, sabi pa dito, so how do we calculate the unemployment rate? Labor force participation rate. This is the percentage of adults in an economy who are either employed or who are unemployed and looking for a job, and the unemployment rate, the percentage of adults who are in the labor force and thus seeking jobs but who do not have jobs. So ito yung computation class na. Unemployment rate equals unemployed people over total labor force times 100. Okay, so we have here, based on the data in table 1, what's the unemployment rate of 2016? In this example, the unemployment rate can be calculated as 7.7 million as being written here, divided by 159.1 million people in the labor force. Ito yung nasa labor force, okay? Which works out to a 4.8%. I-divide mo siya sa 100 to get the percentage rate because we are looking for the percentage rate, okay? So divide it by 100 or times it or multiply it by 100 to get the percentage. 4.8% rate of unemployment. Yan, okay? So ganun lang, madali lang naman siya. Unemployed people, unemployed over total labor force multiply by 100. So, ito yung sa US unemployment rate. These are the different countries in comparison with unemployment rates. Okay? So, how do we calculate the unemployment rate? Yun nga, sabi ko kanina, no? Unemployed people over total labor force multiplied by 100 to get the percentage rate. So, in the labor market with flexible wages, the equilibrium will occur at wage rate and quantity rate, where the number of people looking for jobs, shown by S, this one, equals the number of jobs available, shown in D. Equilibrium in the labor market occurs at the wage rate where the quantity of labor demanded equals the quantity of labor supplied. Maganda sana kung ganito, no? Nasa equilibrium type. Kumbaga, yung available jobs is nagpanama sa mga nangangailangan ng trabaho. In that case, we can call it equilibrium in the labor market. Equals the labor force. Okay? So, cyclical unemployment. Why wages may be sticky downward. Adverse selection of wage cuts arguments. If employers reduce wages for all workers, the best workers will leave. So, ito yung iba't ibang dahilan kung bakit nakakaapekto yung salary sa ating unemployment rate. Okay, so let's see what are the different factors why wage or salary can affect the unemployment rate. Adverse selection of wage cuts arguments. If employers reduce wages for all workers, the best workers will leave. Syempre, no? Cyclical unemployment. Unemployment closely tied to the business cycle, like higher unemployment during a recession. So, titingnan natin what is cyclical unemployment mamaya, ano? Efficiency wage theory. The theory that the productivity of workers, either individually or as a group, will increase if they are paid more. Implicit contract. An unwritten agreement in the labor market that the employer will try to keep wages from falling when the economy is weak or the business is having trouble, and the employee will not expect huge salary increase when the economy or the business is strong. Okay, so minsan may mga implicit contract na nakalagay, naka-state dyan, no? Unwritten agreement naman siya, no? Although agreement siya, pero hindi siya nasa black and white, stating that the employer will try to keep wages from falling when the economy is weak or the business is having trouble. Okay. But most of the time kasi, naapektuhan talaga yung salary ng isang empleyado. Or if not the salary itself, yung mismo mga empleyado ang naapektuhan. Okay, nagkakaroon ng retrenchment, nagkakaroon ng layoff like what is happening now. Okay, there's a huge rumor na baka or marami sa mga small-scale enterprises or small-scale businesses will not give the mandatory 13-month pay. Okay, mandatory siya. Pagdating sa batas natin, it's mandated by the law na magbibigay ng year-end bonus or equivalent to 1-month pay as your bonus or the 13-month pay na sinasabi nga, But umapela yung mga small-scale businesses, no? Or small-scale enterprises na baka ipagpaliban muna for this year kasi nga masyadong naapektuhan ang kanilang negosyo because of the quarantine period. Okay, so they are appealing to the DOLE na kung pwede ay ipagpaliban muna. Pero syempre, gumagawa naman ng paraan. Okay, syempre, hindi naman papayag ang magkakaproblema ngayon yan between the employer and the employees kasi the employees are expecting na makakatanggap sila ng bonus yearly. Okay? So, titingnan natin kung ano yung magiging decision ng Department of Labor and Employment. Okay? So, insider-outsider model. If those already working for the firm are insiders who know the procedures, the other workers are outsiders who are recent or prospective hires. Relative wage coordination agreement. Across the board, wage cuts are hard for an economy to implement and workers fight against them. So, we have three types of unemployment. We have frictional, we have natural rate, and structural. So, frictional, unemployed that occurs as workers move between jobs. So, ito yung palipat-lipat ng trabaho. Hindi mapirmi sa isa. Okay? Every 5 months, lilipat. Every 3 months, lilipat. Madaling manawa. So, they are called frictional unemployment. Ano naman yung natural rate of unemployment? The unemployment rate that would exist in a growing and healthy economy from the combination of economic, social, and political factors that exist at a given time. The sum of frictional plus structural unemployment. Okay? Natural is the sum of frictional and the structural. Let us see what is structural employment. Unemployment that occurs between individuals lacks skills valued by the employers. Okay, so ito naman yung mga na-employed pero eventually tinanggal kasi they lack the skills. Or ito yung mga hindi natatanggap sa trabaho because upon hiring pa lang, hindi na sila qualified. Okay, so yun yung structural unemployment na sinasabi. Okay? So we have natural rate of employment includes only frictional and structural unemployment and not cyclical unemployment. So the natural rate of employment includes only frictional and structural and not cyclical. Ano ba yung cyclical unemployment? Okay? Cyclical unemployment occurs when there is sudden changes in the economy. Ano? Usually, nagkakaroon ng biglang pagbabago sa takbo ng ekonomiya na it so happen na out of nowhere, yung talagang may mga bigla-biglang like what is happening now, okay, sa ating bansa, madaming nag-undergo na cyclical unemployment. No, kasi nga they are being forced to be laid off by the company because the company has no choice or the company have no choice but otherwise lay off those employees kasi nga humihina na yung kita, like for instance the Philippine Airlines or the Cebu Pacific or the ano pa ba yung isa, Air Asia ba yon, o basta yung mga yun, so ang daming tinatanggal kasi nga humihina yung kanilang negosyo. Okay, in that case those people na hindi naman talaga dapat unemployed because they are skilled, they are highly qualified for the job, but unfortunately hindi na nga kumikita yung company, so mapupersa silang tanggalin ng kanilang company. So yun yung sinasabing cyclical unemployment na dinidefine dito. But ang maganda naman dito sa cyclical unemployment, pag gumanda na ulit yung economy, pag nabuhay na ulit yung negosyo or yung business, okay, malaki yung tsansa na i-rehire ulit yung mga tinanggal na tao. Okay? So, during the time na talagang bagsak na bagsak ang ekonomiya, for the meantime, talagang mahihirapan ka. Kumbaga, talagang tatanggalin ka muna. But, eventually, after 1 year or 2 years, pag gumanda na ulit, pag nakabawi na yung ating ekonomiya, then those people who are being laid off during that time, okay, sila yung priority ng company para tawagan naman. Okay, para magsimula ulit. Yon ang cyclical unemployment. Okay, ano pang sabi dito? Ayan. So, the underlying economic, social, and political factors that determine the natural rate of employment can change over time. The internet has provided a remarkable new tool through which job seekers can find out about jobs at different companies and can make contact with relative ease. The growth of the temporary worker industry has probably helped to reduce the natural rate of unemployment, the aging of the baby boom generation. So, ang daming changes when it comes na naka-apekto sa natural rate of employment. Okay? So, ito yung mga changes na at least nakababa sa natural rate of unemployment ng isang bansa. Like, for instance, dito sa ating bansa, medyo nagdi-decline nga, bumababa kasi syempre nagiging mas madali yung paghahanap ng trabaho, sabi dito, because of the internet. Looking for a job has become relative ease. Okay? Yung pagiging in demand ng mga contractual workers or temporary workers. Okay? And the aging of the baby boom generation. So let's talk about inflation. Okay, so last time I gave you already a computation when it comes to computing inflation when it comes to GDP. Okay, so kasama sa exam 'yon. Now let's take a look on how we can compute inflation based on consumer price index. Let's see. Hyperinflation, an extremely high rate of inflation in the 100s or 1000% per year. Okay, inflation naman a general and ongoing rise in the level of prices in an economy. Pag sinabing hyperinflation, mas mataas pa sa 100% or even 1000% per year yung inflation. Napakataas ng class. Okay, pag gano'n ang inflation, talagang babagsak na ang isang bansa. So, tingnan natin. So, how do we calculate inflation with index numbers? Siyempre, we have base year. Okay? Doon sa ginawa natin, di ba, meron tayong base year na sinasabi. The base year is always the previous year. Okay? So, if you will recall, doon sa ating GDP, meron tayong 2 consecutive years. Okay? Yung previous year, yun yung base year na gagamitin natin. Okay? To compute or to compare the inflation rate between 2 succeeding years. Okay? Index number, a unit free measure of an economic indicators. Index number are based on the value of 100, which makes it easy to measure percent changes. So, lagi natin siyang i-multiply sa 100. Kasi we are looking for the percentage. So, to convert it to percentage, we will use units of 100. Inflation rate, the percentage change in some price index, market-based hypothetical collection of goods and services or more, precisely the quantities of each goods or services consumers typically buy. Price indices, essentially the weighted average of price of a certain type of goods or service. Price indices are created to calculate the inflation rate. For example, the percent change in price over time. And price level, the average of price. So we have here index number. Okay. Okay, a price index is essentially the weighted average of a price of a certain type of goods or services. So here, different years, pataas siya, no? Higher education, the price index for higher education, tumaas siya from 1990 to 2014. So healthcare and groceries, hindi naman siya ganun kataas. So among these three, ang pinakamalaking inflation is the education. Okay? So, consumer price index. So, what is consumer price index? It is the average price of goods and services typically purchased by urban consumers. The 8 major categories in the consumer price index, we have food and beverages, we have housing, apparel, transportation, medical care, recreation, education and communication, and other goods and services. So we have here a typical computation on how can we compute the consumer price index. First, let us define ulit. A price index measures the value of a basket of goods bought by a typical consumer and used, okay, to measure inflation. So here, class, we have 3 years. We have 2016, we have 2017, and 2018. Okay, these are the years that we will compute the consumer price index. On the other hand, we have 3 types of goods. We have sacks. We have what's this? We have Uber or taxi, Uber rides, and we have hot dogs. So in a typical country, ito yung ginagamit, say for instance, to make it simplify. Pero syempre, mas madami pa dito yung ating kino-consume every day, no? But to make it simplify, we will just use 3 commodities or 3 goods. Para lang ma-compare natin na mas madali. We have socks, we have Uber rides, and we have hot dogs. Okay? For 2016, the price of socks is 14. For 2015, nagkaroon ng 15. For 2017, naging 15 or 5. Okay, sorry pala. For 2016, the price is $4. Okay? For 2017, nag-increase siya. Naging $5. For 2018, bumalik sa $4.50. Okay? For the Uber rides, we have $10 for 2016, naging $13, and then naging 12. For hot dogs, we have 12 or $2 rather, naging $2.50, and naging $3. So how do we compute the CPI for each year? Okay? So how do we compute the consumer price index of each year? So tingnan natin. For 2016, all you have to do is to get the total price index of these three commodities. 4, 10, and 2. We have 16. Okay? For 2017, we have 5, 13, and 250. For 2050. For 2018, we have 450, 12, and 3 for a total of $19.50. Okay? So how do we compute for the CPI? Meron ditong computation, no? CPI is equal to price of basket of goods in a year over price of basket in a base year. Multiply ulit by 100 to get the percentage, okay? So let's see kung paano yun sa 2016. Sa 2016, since wala siyang succeeding year, okay, ang base year natin dito is sa 2016 itself. Yun yung base year natin. Among these three, ang base year natin is 2016. Okay, but since walang succeeding year yung 2016, so mangyayari is pareho din yung kanyang base year. So equal to, ano lang yan, equal to 100. Okay, so here we have 16 multiplied by 16 times 100, it will give you 100. For 2017, we have 2050, okay, multiplied by the base year, ito yung sinasabi ko, no? Multiplied by the base year, which is 16, divide pala by the base year, which is 16, and then multiply by 100, it will give you 128. Okay, for 2018, for 2018, 1950 divided by 16, multiplied by 100, it will give you 122. Okay, so the CPI for 2016 is 100, the CPI for 2017 is 128, the CPI for 2018 is 122. So how do we compute naman for the inflation rate? Okay, for 2016, for 2017, and 2018. Na-compute natin yung CPI. Now, let's try to compute the inflation rate. So, inflation rate, sabi dito, class, madali din naman siya, no? There's always the base year. Okay, sabi ko nga kanina, mahalaga na meron tayong comparison to compute the inflation. Gaya dun sa ating GDP, may base year din tayo na ginagamit. Okay, so sabi dito, inflation is determined by the changes or by the percentage change in consumer price index between 2 years. No? Inflation is computed by the percentage change in consumer price index between 2 years. Okay? So dito meron tayong CPI. Wait. Yan, okay? Here we have 2016 as our base year. So what you are going to do is just look for the base year or the previous year. Okay? Present year minus previous year over previous year. This is between 2016 and 2017. Okay. For 2017, ang ating CPI is 128 as being represented here. For 2016, as our base is 100. Okay. Is 100 as being represented here. 100. Okay. So we have the present year minus the previous year over the base year, which is also 2016, it will give you 28 over 100 multiplied ulit by 100, it will give you 28%. So, ganun lang ang pagko-compute ng inflation ng Consumer Price Index. Madali din lang siya. Okay, class? So, meron na tayong inflation ng GDP, meron na tayong inflation ng Consumer Price Index. So, confusion over inflation. Inflation can cause three types of problems: blurred price signals, unintended redistributions of purchasing power, and difficulties in long-term planning. People who are hurt by inflation include those who are holding a lot of cash. Okay? When inflation happens, the buying power of cash is diminished. Okay? So, pag madami kang pera na hawak, yari ka pang nagkaroon ng inflation kasi during inflation, bumababa or nababago yung value ng pera. Yung dating 1,000 mo, na hawak-hawak mo, pag nagkaroon ng heavy inflation, baka maging 100 pesos na lang ang tumbas niyan. Okay? So, lugi ka. Cash is only an example of a mere general problem. Anyone who has financial assets invested in a way that the nominal return does not keep up with inflation will tend to suffer from inflation. So, benefits of low inflation. An annual inflation rate of 2, 3, or 4% is a long way from a national crisis. Okay, so yung mga occasional na 2%, 3%, 4%, katanggap-tanggap pa yan when it comes to economic state. Okay? Pero yung mga masyado na malalaki like 10%, 20% inflation rate, problema na yan sa ating bansa. If variability in inflation rates is a problem, then moderate and high inflations are more likely to have significant variability than low inflations. Low inflation, on the other hand, is also better than deflation, which occurs with severe recession. Moderate inflation may help the economy by making wages and labor markets more flexible. Okay? So that's it. That's all about inflation rate, Consumer Price Index, and the rate of unemployment. Okay, so this will be included also in your midterm exam. So please listen, and I will send to you naman the PowerPoint presentation and also the link para do sa YouTube natin. So thank you class for listening and have a good day.